Welcome to this week's episode. We are moving on from Honfleur towards Ouistreham. Then we stopped briefly at St Vaast and then on to Cherbourg. Unfortunately, we had very poor sailing conditions for most of this episode. So on the way to Ouistreham was kind of okay. We had some wind, but from then on it's basically sitting in the fog, hoping we don't hit things.
Near a thunderstorm passed past us as well, and it poured with rain.
Yeah.
I don't know
thunderstorms at sea are never fun.
Yeah.
Especially when you've got a massive piece of metal sticking up into the sky, waiting to catch you out. But right now, in real time, we've just gone through the Ras de Seine, heading south into Biscay. We're not sailing across Biscay, we're sailing into Biscay. What was the place called we're heading roughly tonight?
Loch Tuddy.
Loch Tuddy. We were in Brest for like 2.5 weeks waiting for a package. That's all done now, but really smooth sail today. We had the engine on for a few hours because there was no wind, but the wind is now filling in. The sun is blazing down, sometimes uncomfortably so. So we've got some, I bought this thin hoodie thing that protects me from the sun. And the sea is now warm enough to jump in, so you might be seeing more snorkeling content, paddle boards, swimming, as we start to enjoy life the way sailors should. And dolphins, we've just seen a bunch of dolphins. Anyway, enjoy the episode, and then next week we will be moving to the Channel Islands. Since coming to France, we've got ourselves into a bit of a morning routine. It's pretty standard in France to go out to a boulangerie every morning or every evening and get yourself some bread. The bread in France is incredible compared to every other country I've ever been to. And so the first thing we do when we get to a new port is go and check out the boulangeries, and which is bakeries to you and I. And here in Honfleur there are four
that we found, I guess.
Yeah, four that we found.
Now.
It's hard to find them sometimes because Google Maps, Apple Maps, you search for boulangerie and all of the cafes also come up in the results. So you've then got to kind of filter those out to what's actually just a bakery. But yeah, so we get up at whatever time we get up. You can see how not quite early it is.
But it's 9 a.m.
It's 9 a.m.
It's fairly early considering we don't have jobs.
Yeah, we are thinking that everywhere should be like this, where you can get up and walk around, say hello to a few people, and then start work at maybe 10:30. Would be a much nicer lifestyle, even in cities. And the French act like that as well. You know, we see all of the locals doing essentially this routine as well. Possibly a little bit earlier sometimes, but they still do it. So here's what we have got today. So first and foremost, 2 baguettes. Traditional baguettes. These are probably the closest thing that you would get to this elsewhere is a sourdough. The French have laws around how baguettes are to be made. And essentially 4 ingredients: yeast, flour, water and salt. There's no sugar in a baguette, there's no coatings, nothing. They've got to leave them to air cool for a certain amount of time before you're allowed to buy them. It's incredibly regulated for bread, but that results in very, very good bread. And the reason they're crispy on the outside is the moisture in the ovens, and the temperature in the ovens. So if you're making these in a domestic oven, highest temperature it will go up to, and as you put the bread in, throw in some water on the bottom, it steams up and you'll get a nice crunchy outside. You can also brush the dough with water, that makes it more crunchy. Then the other thing we've got today, and this changes daily.
And we make our way through all of them to find our favourite before we leave a new port so far.
So that is my pano raisin, which is my favourite. I sometimes switch it out for a couple of croissants. Yesterday, for the first time, we had butter croissants, which all croissants are butter croissants, but in France you get the extra butter croissants, which are dripping with butter and taste the most amazing thing. Not good for breakfast every day, very fatty, but certainly tasty. And Jude traditionally would have had like a pain au chocolat, and you've found new things.
Yes, they seem to call it a different thing at every single boulangerie. It's either been a pain suisse, a pain pépite, a pain pépito, and yeah, so they're basically chocolate. I guess we would call, sometimes we've seen them in the UK, and they've been pains torsada. It's basically twisted, so two bits of the...
I don't know, I don't do chocolate for breakfast.
two bits of the pastry dough, and then wrapped, and it filled with like chocolate and custard. So very unhealthy, but I always only have one.
And it's not always pastry dough, it's
that's back in the UK, but here they do brioche or croissant dough.
Yeah, and in different kind of styles as well, the way that they're folding it and stuff. Yeah. They're all delicious though. I don't do chocolate for breakfast, but I always have a bite of Jude's. So yeah.
But today we're on pano raisins because they were epic. Dave had one the other day and I did not.
These are the best pano raisins I've ever had. This is in Honfleur, or Honfleur rather. And I can't remember what the bakery is called, but it's up, walk around the town, and it's sort of behind the harbour. It's a bit different at the moment because we've got the closures of the roads, so it's slightly harder to get to, but worth the walk. So anyway, we will get on and eat these, but we just wanted to show you the morning routine in France, which is a very relaxing way to start the day. And we've made ourselves a pot of coffee in obviously a French press. Sometimes we have tea, we are British, but
we have had 2 cups of tea already today.
We've had 2 cups of tea already. And as you can see, we're sitting on deck. It's still April the 29th, 30th today. So it's very early in the season, but it's been warm enough to sit on deck for breakfast every single day that we've been here. So yeah, utterly different lifestyle than we had last year. This morning we left Honfleur, or Honfleur, I keep making the mistake. We didn't film an awful lot on the leaving. We've got some footage from the spray hood. Jude is pointing at me. We had some footage from the spray hood, but we didn't film much in terms of telling you what was going on. Partly because it's felt a bit hectic actually. It's a fairly simple exit. We waited for the free flow on the lock, but there were 10 fishing boats or so going out, all queuing in the lock. There was also one of the big what they call passenger boats that go up the Seine. That went out, so we let that go in front of us. Then we headed for the lock behind them. We had called the lock gate, and they stop and turn just outside of the lock gate. So because they were turning, I didn't think I had enough space to carry on. So I stopped and turned. Then somebody called and asked us why we hadn't gone through. And then we did go through almost immediately after. A fishing boat was behind us, so we just went behind them. Then we got out and there was a massive tanker coming down the Seine. He beeped 5 times, which means I don't understand your intentions. We immediately just kept to the side of the channel and carried on, but the fishing boat stayed in the middle, which then meant the ship beeped again. So it was really hectic leaving. And so I've only really just remembered to pick the camera up and talk about what's going on. So just over here behind us is a boat called Il Moro. They've come out with us. They're coming to Ouistreham with us. Ouistreham is where we're headed. We're probably staying at Ouistreham one night, just as a stopover to shorten the next journey, really. And then we are either headed into St Vaast or to the place I'd forgotten the name of, right in the corner, Grand Camp Maisie, or Grand Camp Maisie, which is right in the corner, in the west side of the Baie de Seine, and we're not decided yet where we're going. And there are a few more harbours in between, but they all kind of look like the same lock gate over the beach kind of setup that we had in St Valery, and we're not sure we want to get trapped inside of a lock again. There's some fairly wet weather coming up, some wind again next week, so we sort of feel like we are done with locks for the time being. We're going to see if we can just make some progress and find somewhere. It'd be nice to find somewhere that we can anchor again. We've not done that this year, and we've certainly got the weather for it. We just don't have anywhere to anchor because we're on the north coast of France and we've had nothing but northerlies and easterlies since we crossed. Quite a lot of the time that has been strong, so it's been a lee shore with quite a lot of swell coming down. You can see there's no swell now, but this is an exceptionally calm day that we've had so far. Yeah, we are 2 hours to go, nothing really happening. It's one of those sit on deck and just enjoy the sunshine days, so I doubt there's going to be many more updates, to be honest.
As you can see, it's a completely different day. Very little visibility. We arrived in Ouistreham yesterday in the, I don't know, by the time we were like tied up and been to the marina office, it was about 4 p.m. We had a nice motor sail, well, a sail, slowed right down again, had to motor, got in to Ouistreham, tied up on their visitor pontoons. So there was a waiting pontoon which we initially tied up on, and then we were told, we went to the office and they said move round, and there were these single pontoons and they were apparently for visitors, which is good. So if you ever need to stay, then you just pick one of those and then that's your berth, and if not, you go through the lock. Some other people that we'd met went through the lock and they were inside this morning, but they had there was loads of drama. The lock is ginormous and there was one boat not very well tied on, I think, and it started drifting. But anyway, it's a different story. But yeah, so we arrived, we just stayed one night, had a few drinks, and they've got a little bar in the marina with the couple we'd met. And then this morning we woke up and we were planning on leaving a little bit earlier, and were faced with very, very thick fog. Like, we could hardly see 0.1 nautical miles in front of us. So we decided to stay, went and found some food, went and walked through Ouistreham, and then came back on our way. And by the time we got back to the boat and all of that, it was actually cleared a bit, so we decided to go. So today we've got the sails up, but we are motor sailing. It's not quite enough wind to be going, which is sort of what we expected, but we just wanted to get out of that. So we're not sure where we're heading. We were initially heading for St Vaast, but we would have needed to anchor overnight because we weren't going to hit high tide. Now we're not sure. There's a couple of little islands which will be quite a calm day, so we might end up stopping at those and anchoring. You're not allowed ashore or anything, but it might be nice anchorage, or we will anchor outside of St Vaast, although we have just seen lots of boats come across on marine traffic all the way from the Solent, and they've all just landed on St Vaast and filled up all of their pontoons, so we don't actually even know if there'll be space tomorrow for us to get in. So we'll have to phone them and find out. But yeah, we'll keep you updated with our day. Oh yeah, today, so it's still very foggy. I think we've got 0.2 nautical mile visibility, and we've got our radar on, we've got our lights on, and we're just keeping a watchful eye out. We've got enough, and it's obviously light, so it's quite good. Might not be the best night for being at anchor, but it is what it is. We are just in St Vaast. We're getting ready to leave. There's another lock gate, so we're a timed exit. We are currently okay to leave now, but we're just getting ready for everything. But yeah, St Vaast has been very nice. We arrived yesterday morning, had a bit of a walk around, saw all the streets of the shops and stuff. Very pretty, lovely, quaint little shops around. It was Sunday, so everything shut at about 12:30. So yeah, we had lunch at the Marina Bar, which was quite nice, very good food, and then just had a bit of a lazy afternoon because we were both quite tired from the lack of sleep of the swinging on the anchorage, but it was nice to be back at anchor anyway. So yeah, today we are heading round to Cherbourg, and we need to get laundry done, cleaning the boat, all of those sorts of jobs. So we might be there for a few days, and then potentially my parents might come and visit us, or we'll work out going to see them at some point. But yeah, just having a cup of tea, waiting for us to have enough depth to safely get out, which should be a few more minutes. But yeah, all getting on. We've rushed the last bit of the coast quite quickly, but the weather started turning, and we're hoping that once we get some good weather back in a couple of weeks, we'll be able to anchor a bit more. But yeah, we need to make our plans of where we're off next.
So this is the second time I'm recording this, and last time I said we were doing 4.5 knots through the water, 3.5 over the ground, and in the 2 minutes that it's taken to record it, we're now doing 3 knots through the water and 2 knots over the ground. Got a bit of tide against us, so that's because we left St Vaast as we managed to get through the gate. We had to wait for some water. Sorry, I'm just looking around the sail because Jude's getting a bit twitchy as if there's something we're about to hit. We're not. We never are when she's twitchy. It's normally a mile away. So yeah, anyway, we waited for half an hour after the gate, managed to get through on the tide. That then puts us a bit against the tide going up here. So going slowly is a good thing, up to the top of the Cherbourg Peninsula. And then the tide lessens as we turn, but that probably means then that there won't be enough wind to sail, so get our sailing in while we can. First time ever in my life today though, I managed to get all of the telltales on the sails to fly in the correct formation at the same time. For those who aren't sailors, the telltales are little ribbons that we attach to the back of the sail, and on the head sail they're kind of in various places, little bits of wool. And when those fly perfectly backwards, that means wind is flowing across the sail. And if all of them are flying backwards, it means the air is moving across all of the sail in the correct way. Normally we will get 1 or 2, and then the rest of it, as far as I'm concerned, is magic. But anyone that races, anyone that knows what they're doing with sailing, will know which rope to pull and trim the sail. For cruisers, I don't know many cruisers that are that good at trimming sails, because the reason racers are good at it is they're trimming the sail every 30 seconds. On a cruise trip, we set the sail and then we sail for 6 hours or 10 hours or whatever. So we don't tend to practice it that much, and therefore we're less good at it. But we don't generally want that much performance out of the boat, so it's no big deal. Anyway, yeah, we really enjoyed St Vaast. In the end, when we arrived, there were probably 100 British boats milling around in there. There was a jog, I think it is, cruise over from the Solent, where we were previously based, to St Vaast. They came over just for a day and then they all went back, but it was utter chaos when we arrived. Boats everywhere, made the entrance a bit difficult through the narrow gate, but it was fine. We had to reverse to get out of some people's way. You do have priority entering, so yeah, we should have been fine, but it was just so many boats in there. And today, to be fair, there were probably 30 French boats leaving as we left, so you know, the whole place is just busy. But yeah, we got to know the town a little bit, and it was quite nice. I think my initial impression of it wasn't that good because of the busyness, and then because the pontoons were slippery, and also because we came from Honfleur, which is absolutely stunning, and the town has got everything you'd want. And because it was just misty when we arrived, which is never shows anywhere in a good light. But the clouds lifted, and it was actually a really lovely place to be. Would like to spend more time there at some point, but we decided to move on. We've just got lots of laundry to do. We had no food on board. There weren't any shops close to the marina, so it's going to be more convenient to just move around to Cherbourg, and we'll see what happens then. Well, we've gone from barely moving to now doing 6 knots over the ground. We're still only doing 4 through the water, but the tide is turning exactly when we thought it would at the corner, northeast corner of Cherbourg Peninsula. So we're now going pretty quick on a conveyor belt around this corner. It's a notorious bit of water, the Ras de Barfleur, which is just the race of Barfleur, if you couldn't work that one out. Pretty simple translation. And we've seen a bit of rough patch on the water, but on a day like today, rough patch is half a foot of very mild waves.
It got loud.
Sorry?
It got loud.
Oh, apparently it got loud. It certainly is louder than it was, so yeah, but it's still really calm. We're not sure what's going to happen around the corner. It looks like on the chart the tide that's going past the north of the peninsula is still heading east at 2 knots, so it could be that we'll get up there and stop in our tracks. We'll just have to see. I think it hopefully will be turning as well, which means we might slow down for a bit. With a bit of luck, it'll push us away from this headland. We're currently half a mile from the Barfleur lighthouse, which is closer than we normally like to be to lighthouses, because there's a reason that people build lighthouses, and it's not because it's lovely safe water. But yeah, we've got 10 meters depth all the way around this corner, and worst case we can tack out to sea, give ourselves a bit more room. We're feeling fairly lazy though. We're hoping to get away with it, and anyone that's sailed will know this feeling of, if I can just get past this, I will get away without doing any work. So you quite often do push it a little bit more than you would like to, just to avoid tacking, then tacking again. I do know some sailors that would tack 12 times to get the optimum route and speed, but those people are racers rather than cruisers. So yeah, it's a nice day to be out really, and we've got really lucky with the wind. It was supposed to be directly on the nose all day, and it kind of is, but because it's flat, it's not so bad. So we're not smashing into the weather, we're just gently sailing along. So yeah, we've had some lunch. We had the table up, which is unusual on a sailing passage. Table up on deck, that is. We don't do that if the boat's moving about too much, because we would just hit the table and probably break it. So yeah, we had some lovely baguette and some cheese and some aioli, and yeah, very, very pleasant way to spend the day.
Not sure whether you could see that in the camera or not, but there was just a really weird swirly patch of water. Well, it was swirling on the outside, and then the inside was just flat calm. Don't know what it was. We were worried it might have been a pot, but doesn't seem to be. For the excitement. We're still sailing anyway, and that is Cherbourg in front of us. So you can see everything. And there's Dave.
So for long-time watchers of the channel, or anybody that's clicked the binge watch link at the end of every video, we're about to enter the shallow port of Cherbourg. I say shallow port because this is the reason why the Titanic needed a tender. So anybody that remembers the name of that tender, pop it in the comments below to prove you've been paying attention. Yeah, so we went on the tender to Titanic over in Belfast, at the Titanic Museum. Absolutely amazing boat. Had no idea that there was a tender to the Titanic, but the reason is that the depth coming into Cherbourg here is just 5 or 6 meters in places. The Titanic was 15, if memory serves. So the Titanic would have anchored out here in the bay, or I think maybe in the outer harbour, and then the tender would have taken the passengers in. And the other thing we learned that day was that the Titanic came to Cherbourg on the way to New York, which I had no idea before we went to that museum. So it actually made 3 stops. One of them was Southampton, where it left. Then it came to Cherbourg, picked up more passengers, and I'm sure dropped some people off. Then it went to Cobb, I think it was at the time, which is essentially Cork in Ireland. I think, if memory serves, it might have been in Waterford Harbour. And then it set sail to the Americas, and the rest is history, obviously. So anyway, just thought I would update that we are here entering that very same harbour. We obviously don't have draft restrictions though. Thanks for watching, and please join us next week when we temporarily leave France and spend some time in the Channel Islands, on Alderney, Guernsey, Herm, Sark and finally Jersey. If you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe so you don't miss an episode.